Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and the drama continues with Crimsix and Doug Censor Martin, with Doug challenging Crimsix to a fight to settle a debate over whether certain events should count in Call of Duty history. But Doug does finally admit that he does indeed have a Grand Finals loss on his resume. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thanks very much indeed for that one. Not many days away at all from the start of the World Championship. This Thursday it begins. Going to be a long weekend. Only the Grand Finals is on the Sunday, when two teams main and of course one team will be crowned champion. Very difficult to predict this event. Firstly, wanted to mention this real quick because there was some talk during Major 4 especially. I was going to say Major 5, thinking that we actually had a Major 5 this year. Unfortunately we didn't. I think it was like yesterday, or I think it was like this weekend's, at least these dates last year, where Major 5 was going on. So just kind of strange to me the way they've done this season, that last year we had Major 5 around about this time, then another few weeks off before champs, and now they've just condensed it even more. But hopefully next season's format will be better. They've had time to prepare a better format next year. Hopefully they're going to deliver on that. But the other side of things, right, is where is actually the CDL going to be streamed next year? Is it going to be another YouTube partnership, or is it going to be on Twitch? We saw during Major 4 that there were all these like Amazon Prime logos going around. Of course, Amazon owned Twitch, and they're like Amazon Prime Gaming and stuff. And when you like scan the QR code on Bacage, it would take you to this Prime Gaming page for Vanguard. So it doesn't really seem to me like well, the YouTube deal is going to get renewed particularly easily. FaZe, of course, like long-time Call of Duty guy, commentator, good friend of the OpTic guys, especially in really the Call of Duty scene in general, left his position at YouTube Gaming not that long ago now. So that relationship there maybe isn't quite what it used to be. And also, I don't really think Twitch necessarily have the money to be paying millions of dollars to the Call of Duty League to get the exclusivity. So I do wonder what the future is, because there's kind of maybe talking about right here the fact that if anyone even plays the Pro-Am on stream on Twitch right now, they're going to get a copyright claim. Maybe it's even done automatically, because I mean, yeah, you're not allowed to stream Call of Duty stuff on Twitch right now, at least Call of Duty League stuff. But next season we might imagine that could be a different deal. The YouTube deal comes to an end. Now the ideal world for me is that it's on both, right? Because the YouTube experience to me is better. But I do think that for the big event weekends, when you're trying to get all the viewership and really like get esports talking about Call of Duty again, that's where Twitch really comes into its own. So we'll see what happens, whether they renew the YouTube deal further. Based on what we saw at Major 4, I feel like it's a likely possibility that either there's no deal, or at least it's on Twitch in some capacity next season. Let's dive into this then, right? So here goes Doug again. He's back at it again, baby. He's in his back garden. He's in front of the canal. He's topless. He's probably just got off his jet ski or something. And well, he's having a few words for Crimsix and X. He is adamant in this clip right here that this event that he's talking about, that Crimsix and X beat him in a few years ago, which is Doug Censor Martin's only technically Grand Finals defeat in his career. He's taken pride for many years in the fact that he's never lost a Grand Finals, but it turns out there was an event he lost the Grand Finals in a few years ago, and Doug and X beat him at that particular event. And he's saying that, well, look, there's no way that actually counts for all these certain reasons. He's coming up with a very few reasons why that event wasn't legitimate, the competitive integrity wasn't there. So yeah, he's going up on the main stage right here saying that, yeah, this event doesn't count at all. If that event counts, all this other type of stuff counts. But yeah, Crim and X certainly aren't going to agree with this.
Alright guys, I just woke up and I'm seeing all this drama on my timeline with the flank and with JCap and Aches, and saying that this event, I don't even call this thing an event, but this tournament called PAX East in Boston, where we had tens of thousands of people swarming around us while we were playing COD, where the third best team there is a CDL GM, okay? There was not even good competition in this tournament, and I went with a pickup team. If Crimsix is counting this, and Aches is counting this as a chip on their resume, I'm counting GB Golds on my resume. I'm counting taking my dog for a walk on my resume. I might just jump in this canal right now and call that a championship too. You want me to? I'll do it right now. I'll do it right now. I promise. That is not a championship. That does not count against my record. And Crim, take that off of your list of championships, because that is a fugazi chip, period. If we're questioning if the Pro-Am's a chip today, oh my goodness. If you guys saw this thing, we had nade shot casts in the freaking finals for us, man. We had random people walking around the station with bass going through my toes up into my head in my Astro headset. Does not count, bro. Does not count.
So here we go then, this is the event in question, the MLG card 2014 Season 1 Playoffs, PAX Prime, or I think it was called PAX basically. It was held in Boston, and this was the event where Complexity won. They beat Strictly Business, Censor, aBeZy, Saints and Dido in the grand finals. He was even throwing a straight up Modog, right, who's now the GM of the Los Angeles Thieves, who's on this cursed Las Vegas team. And anyway, pretty much this tournament was a bit of a weird one because these teams were pickup teams. I'm pretty sure Doug already had another squad lined up. They just turned up here with this team and just tried to have a good time, win a bit of cash, have a good time on the weekend. But at the same time, it is a LAN event with pretty much all the best teams and players there in the game. I think there's no real way this doesn't count, at least to some degree, but it does really raise the question, like, what type of events should count, what events don't count, does it even matter? But at the same time, Crimsix is going to have his records for the amount of championships he's won, and some people are going to dispute whether those events actually count or not, especially compared to the modern day, when it maybe is easier to tell what events count, but then again, people talk about the Pro-Am, people talk about the Kickoff Classic this season, as to whether they count as a legitimate victory, even as Mo looks like, wow, hang on a second, Doug, I was catching strays with that one. Like, calm down a little bit, mate. Now, well, of course, aBeZy is going to come into the battle and say, well, hang on a second, I won that event. That's going to count for me. So, and Nameless, first of all, says, like, I see your point here. To add context for those watching, this is a Season 1 championship, think a stage of the CDL, immediately following the World Championship that year, because back in the day, they didn't used to do champs at the end of the season. It would be mid-season in, like, March or April, so it would coincide with, I think, the second DLC, so they could, like, promote the DLC. It was effectively the idea of COD champs back then. Nowadays, it's sensibly at the end of the year, but there were further championships after champs, right, which is a little bit strange. An important tournament dictating the future rosters for Rostermania. As Doug says, the fact that it was held in the location it was held in completely ruins competitive integrity. Also, I was already teaming with former Proofy Saints. Half the teams there weren't even teaming together anymore. And as Nameless says, look, we played in these passion pits, 100 degrees, 5 millisecond monitors, all this kind of dodgy stuff, freezing cold venues in Europe, stinky hotel ballrooms, like, just some questionable stuff going on, like a level playing fields. That doesn't reduce the impact of the event actually counting. And then Doug goes on to say, look, every tournament I've competed in, I've never in a million years counted that PAX event as a chip. To hold an event in that setting and try and put a value on it is laughable. And as Nameless says, look, that was in that environment, and Complexity still ended up winning. Like, context, Doug, all this type of stuff. And they're talking about the level of competition here at the tournament, right? And some of these teams that are being put together. There's still some pretty decent names and tournaments here. And even Clay was mentioning that the OpTic guys at the time, who were like 10th, I think, and didn't even qualify or something, they were getting DDoS. So they're just bringing back some beef really and airing some beef out from several years ago. Talking about how FaZe apparently were onliners, right? Because they deliver the goods here online. Then on LAN failed to get the same job done. But he's like, look, Crim, he's of course the main target here, really, because Crimsix, the man with the most championships in Call of Duty history, he's going to count this one as a win. And Doug's like, well, look, I don't want to count it as a grand finals loss, so you can't count it as a victory. So he says the event that had tens of thousands of people walking around behind us with loud music playing in a 20 square foot open floor, the one that had Nade casting the finals with loud music playing, and Grim just replies basically just, yawning, like, okay, come on, Doug, calm down, mate, a little bit. And this is the big discussion, right, of when he won the Prime Classic, that he competed in 84 tournaments, appeared in 49 grand finals, won, I think, 37, or I think it was 38 tournaments after the Prime Classic, and people saying, okay, does the Prime Classic count? But then again, you've got, the 12 best Call of Duty teams there, plus 4 amateur teams in a LAN setting in the middle of the year. I think the Prime certainly does count on normal metrics. Does the kickoff count, for example, at the start of the season with a questionable format, like single elimination? That's maybe a bit less, but then again, so was the Prime Classic. That was single elim, but the format was generally better, so it's a bit of a strange one, right? But at the time, Grim was like, look, I'm 1-1 versus Doug in finals, only stat that truly measures greatness. And then at the time, people were like, okay, hang on a second, he's never lost. And then Grim is saying, look, this guy's still counting the champs qualifier for Ghost with a prize of only a number seed for champs, right? That's one of the tournaments that Doug counts as a victory. Is it was some like LAN events champs qualifier where if you won it, it didn't matter because you still all qualified effectively and didn't really get any different prize money. And Crim's saying, well, he counts that as a win, so that's not really a legitimate win because there was nothing really to play for after you got that far in the tournament. So how are these guys going to settle this one out? How are they going to come to, an agreement, I suppose, and it's probably not going to happen. But yeah, could we see a battle in the Octagon or something along those lines? This, I believe, was made by Gershit. There's only one way to solve this. Fatman versus Jackman, Crim versus Doug, and as he says, 7 likes and I'll do it, right? So yeah, imagine this, right? We've talked about this for quite some time whenever there's beef going on. I'll actually get these guys in the ring and have a good battle because it would be absolute comedy. The undercard to the World Championship or something, or Champs ends, and then there's like a boxing match afterwards. But yeah, these guys want to get involved. You got Fatman on the left-hand side with the burger in the background. There's the Wire on Doug, which is pretty funny if you guys remember the Wire story for a few years ago. I think it was the World War II days. And yeah, New York subliners reckon that it's going to be no problem at all. Crimsix is going to come and deliver the goods. I'm not really sure what the whole parking meter drama is. If you guys know what that is, let me know. But yeah, TJ Scump, and then of course he's coming for Doug as well. So who would win in the ring? I feel like Doug's got a significant significant advantage there. But hopefully we might get to see it at some point or another. Now, this is where Doug eventually has to back down, right? So as Clayster's kind of echoing what Crimsix said and saying, look, he counts a regional champs qualifier as a win. And Doug's like, well, look, I'll remove that as a chip if Ian and Pat, that being Crimsix and Eggs, remove that PAX tournament. And as Eggs then goes, bro, you're worried about PAX, which is the Season 1 playoffs for the 10 best teams in Ghost. Have you seen the Crown Melbourne Invitational? We'll look at that here in a second. But Adam aBeZy, formerly of, well, currently of Esports Engine, formerly MLG, he's kind of like considered at times the godfather on topics like this. And he says, look, gents, is this an argument whether it counts or not? If so, it 100% counts. It was the LAN playoffs for an online league at the heirs of the MLG COD competitive ecosystem, no different than kind of like, you know, stage 1 splits of the CWL counting. Damn, Doug, okay, the GOAT has spoken. I'll let the record show that I have one loss in the final. So quite the statement here. He had to even update his bio as well, which I thought was kind of funny. Now, Doug does actually respond to what Aches had to say here and say we can save that one for another day on the Crown Melbourne Invitational. History books need to be ironed out. So this is one kind of interesting topic here, and it's not just relevant to this one tournament 8 years ago, but also really just to Call of Duty as it is now, because certain events you look back on and are like, okay, does that really count? For me, if it's a LAN event with some decent teams there, with a decent enough like a format and prize pool, then it probably counts, but it's always a bit of a grey area, because this tournament here that Crimsix counts as a victory, the Crown Melbourne Invitational, the only teams that are invited to this from outside of APAC were OpTic Gaming, the winners of the Stage 1 playoffs in North America, and Millennium, the winners of the Stage 1 playoffs in Europe, right? So those two teams went out there, they played against the best of Australia, beat them without that much difficulty, and OpTic just walked away with a very easy championship victory. But like, there weren't really that many competitive teams here. So like, this is kind of the big one where people say, look, does this really count? Because no other North American team even got to go to this, because it was just the one NA champs that actually went. And they were, of course, at that time, the strongest team in the entire world. So bit of a strange one, to be honest, but it's a debate I'm sure that will continue into the future. But then as Enable says, right, well, hang on a second, as Doug says, okay, I'll let the record show, I'll change the bio, update the bio. He says, PSX counts then too, surely, right? So this was the first event of the Infinite Warfare season that FaZe won. And like, I think they beat, was it Team Orbit in the grand finals, Rated's team as it was at the time. I think Zero might have been on there as well. I think it was maybe Joe and Urban. Maybe I'm getting those names wrong. But anyway, PSX, they were saying at the time, certainly doesn't count. Right to the start of the game, it was a bit of a ridiculous event, because there was like, the OSO was super overpowered. Strange meta was going on very early on into that life cycle. People didn't really say that counted. No one really considers it counting. But then again, if those events count, then does PSX count? It's a LAN victory at the end of the day. Does it count more or less than a kickoff this season? Always a bit of a mess. Crimsix doesn't seem to care too much, doesn't seem particularly interested in fighting or anything along those lines. You know, just says, here we go again, you know, Doug's at it again, trying to come at my neck or whatever. So I do wonder if this is the end of it, right? But at the end of the day, it does seem like Doug has admitted that he's actually lost a grand finals and changed his bio as well. So going from, yeah, being undefeated in grand finals to now admitting that, yes, that event probably does have to count, and therefore it is a legitimate championship victory for Crimsix and Egg still. And then, of course, this tweet was discovered from back in 2014, lost in the grand finals, had a good run with SB, and then, changes his bio here, as you can see on Spoonbill. 4-0 in grand finals is now gone, and he had to remove it, right? So pretty sad scenes, but I suppose only reflective of the reality. Just to mention this before we close out, nice little clip here from Smart. It is always a question to me, this is Black Ops 4, of course, exactly what games the players are going to play during the off-season. Because often the players like to go back to previous Call of Duty games, but usually they want to play one which is rather similar to what the current Call of Duty is about to be. Now, this is Black Ops 4 that apparently I saw Proloot and clearly Spart. Like, they've started playing Black Ops 4 tourneys again. Rather different game to what we're about to get, but I mean, yeah, still, nasty clip here from Spart, and it does make you kind of miss a game like this in Black Ops 4. I think that might be where the kind of players gravitate towards for the off-season going into Modern Warfare 2. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.